All right, we'll call to order this joint conference committee for higher education. We will do a brief introduction, and I believe Senator Tomassoni wishes to begin. Senator Tomassoni, are you on?
Good morning. Welcome to the Higher Education Conference Committee. I am David Tomassoni, State Senator from Senate District 6. I am from Chisholm, and I look forward to a productive conference committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Tomassoni, and I will be filling in his spot to run the committee hearing today. I'm Senator Jason Rarick from District 11. That is Pine County, Kanabec County, Carleton County, and a little bit of St. Louis. And Chair Bernardy, would you please introduce yourself next?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Connie Bernardy. I represent the communities of New Brighton, Fridley, and Spring Lake Park, House District 30. Well, things are changing now, so let's, whatever. And it's great to be here. I serve as a higher education chair in the Minnesota House of Representatives.
And we'll maybe go right around the table with those who are in person.
Good morning. I'm State Representative Marion O'Neill from House District 29B.
Representative Heather Keeler, serving District 4A.
Representative Jenny Cleaborn, representing Plymouth 44A.
Good morning. My name is Greg Clausen. I'm a member of the Senate, serving the communities of Apple Valley, Rosemont, Northeast Lakeville, and Coates.
Thank you. And now we'll go online to Senator Jasinski.
Senator Jasinski, District 24, the larger cities of Faribault, Otana, and Waseca. Morning.
And Senator Housley, are you available?
Yes, I am. Senator Housley, representing Senate District 39, and I've got my housemate on there, Shelley Christensen. Hey, Shelley.
All right, thank you, everyone. Today's agenda, we are going to go through the side-by-sides, and we will have staff do that for us. So, Ms. Grunwald, if you're ready. Representative Bernardy.
Thank you, Senator Rarick, our Chair Rarick. I wanted to just have Representative Vice Chair Christensen introduce herself. She's on Zoom.
I am sorry, I missed Representative Christensen online. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Connie. And hello, Karen. Shelley Christensen, I represent the St. Clair Valley area, out in Stillwater, Lake Elmo, etc. Thank you.
Again, yeah, thank you. Apologize for missing you. All right, now, Ms. Grunwald, we are ready to begin the side-by-sides. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair and members, for the record, my name is Hannah Grunwald. I'm the fiscal staff with Senate Council Research and Fiscal Analysis, and I'll be walking through the Senate portion of House File 3872. I'll do the spreadsheet, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. White to talk about the policy in the Senate bill. So I'll be working off of the spreadsheet titled Higher Education Finance in the higher left-hand corner, House File 3872 Conference Committee. And just to orient you to the spreadsheet a little bit, the first column will be showing the items. Column B is showing the fund, typically the general fund. And then
Ms. Grunwald, can
yes.
you pull the mic in a little bit closer? We're having a hard time hearing you.
Yep, is that better? All right. Columns E and F are the House version of House File 3872, and then columns G and I are the Senate versions of House File 3872. So I'll begin with talking about the Senate portion. Overall, the Senate proposes to spend $43 million over the course of the two biennia, $19.1 million in fiscal year 22-23, and $23.86 million in the tails overall. So beginning with the Office of Higher Education, on line 23, the Senate is proposing $250,000 in fiscal year 23 for underrepresented student teacher grants. And then in the tails, the Senate has $125,000 per year ongoing. So then jumping down a little bit on the spreadsheet, line 34 is a Senate-only provision proposing $3.76 million in fiscal year 23 for students pursuing law enforcement degree grants. And then that will have a tails of 3.66 million ongoing each year. So the next line, line 35, is the Skills Path Program, which the Senate proposes $500,000 in fiscal year '23, and then $500,000 each year ongoing thereafter. Then on line 36, the Learn to Earn Coalition Program to OHE is a $980,000 appropriation in fiscal year '23. And then line 37 shows the deed portion of that Learn to Earn Coalition Program, which is $20,000 in fiscal year '23. Then on line 38, the Senate proposes an increase of $500,000 to the MICC in fiscal year '23, and then an ongoing amount of $207,000 each year thereafter. So overall, for OHE, the Senate proposes an increase of $6 million in fiscal year '22 and '23, and then in the tails, an overall total of about $9 million. So I'll move on to the next page. Beginning with line 48, the Senate proposes O&M increase to the Minnesota state system of $649,000 in fiscal year '23. And then on line 49, the Senate proposes a $10 million increase for the workforce development scholarships in fiscal year '23, and then a $5 million increase in the tails each year. So then total for Minnesota State is $10.649 million in fiscal year '23, and then $5 million each year in the tails. Then for the University of Minnesota, the Senate is proposing $454,000 in fiscal year '23 for the University of Minnesota's safety and security request. And in the tails, that will be $2.39 million each year. So then on line 62, the Senate's proposing $2 million one-time increase to the Natural Resources Research Institute, bringing the total of the University of Minnesota to $2.454 million fiscal year '23, and then an ongoing amount of $2.39 million each year. So then finally, on line 70, this is a typo here. Instead of saying increase access to university, it should say Skills Path Program, General Education Aid. The Skills Path Program that the Senate proposes has a formula adjustment for the Minnesota Department of Education, which was represented in a fiscal note. And this amount needs to be covered with this change. So the Senate adjusted the amounts in this bill to cover the general education aid increase, which is $24,000 in fiscal year '23, and then an ongoing amount of $43,000 each year in the tails. So like I said, overall, in the two biennia, the Senate's proposing a $43 million increase. And that wraps up the spreadsheet for the Senate side. If there aren't any questions, I'll move on, turn it over to Ms. White to cover the policy.
Are there any questions, members? Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if you could tell us for the NRRI, is that for scholarships or is that for infrastructure? The House has some for infrastructure.
Ms. Grunwald.
Mr. Chair and Representative, I believe it's just a general increase for the appropriation for the Institute, so not for a specific purpose, but just for the Institute itself.
Representative O'Neill, follow up?
Maybe someone else could, I thought that it was more specific than just O&M to NRRI. I don't know if someone else has more information that, is it just O&M?
Yeah, I believe it is O&M. It was a Senator Tomassoni provision. I believe it is O&M expenses for NRRI.
Okay. All right. And again, the House is for infrastructure, so it's building out new labs. So thank you. Thanks for the distinction.
Chair Bernardy, did you have a question?
Thank you, Chair Rarick. I just wanted to make sure when you were, I have this right, on 70, it's the Skills Path Program? Is that what it's supposed to be? And I cross out the other part?
Yes, Mr. Chair and Representative, that's correct. So this was just a typo. I'm not sure how it got there, but instead of increase access to university on line 70, it should read Skills Path Program, General Education Aid.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, Ms. White, are you available for going through your portion?
Mr. Chair and members, yes, I am. My camera decided not to work this morning, so I can't turn my camera on. Anyway, good morning, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Joan White, and I'm with Senate Council on Research and Fiscal Analysis, and I will be working on my summary of Senate Bill 3510, or the unofficial engrossment of 3872-1. First, sections 1 and 4 establish the Skills Path program. Section 1 establishes this program in the education, the K-12 chapter of law. And this program is done in coordination with the Commissioner of Higher Education, and that provision is under section 4. And this program provides secondary students with a pathway from high school to careers in skilled work and trades. And the Commissioner of Higher Education is required to develop an application for which the eligible institutions may apply. Section 2 expands the state institution eligibility requirements for state student aid to include institutions that meet the new criteria under this section, in addition to meeting all the requirements imposed on private institutions, except for the requirement to be physically located in the state. And this section is effective July 1st of 2023. Section 3 is a new section of law establishing a grant program for students pursuing law enforcement. The annual grant is $3,000, and the lifetime limit depends on what education the student is pursuing. And the eligible students must be enrolled in a law enforcement program as defined in the Peace Officer chapter of law. I already mentioned section 4. This has to do with the Skills Path program, and this requires the Commissioner of Higher Education to award grants up to $50,000 to up to 10 secondary schools annually for the program. And this section specifies the grant uses and what must be included in the grant application. Section 5 is a section that's also in the House and Senate State Government Bill. This adds a requirement for the governor's consideration in making appointments to the Board of Trustees of the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities. Sections 6, 7, and 14 relate to students who are placed in developmental courses. Section 6 requires a college or university to determine whether an individual's performance on a standardized test exempts that individual from a developmental course, and the requirement to inform the individual if a developmental course is required. Section 7 prohibits a college or university from determining if an individual is placed in a developmental course based solely on the testing process. And the college or university is allowed to use multiple measures listed in this section to make a holistic determination to place the individual in a developmental course. And the term remedial is changed to developmental throughout this section of law. Sections 8, 9, and 10 relate to the workforce development scholarships. Section 8 amends the scholarship program to include programs of study in law enforcement, and specifies that the annual scholarship award for law enforcement students is $5,000. Section 9 expands the programs of study to include construction and law enforcement. Section 10 caps the lifetime limit for students in law enforcement at $15,000. For all other programs of study under this section, the annual scholarship is $2,500 with a lifetime limit of $7,500. Section 11 modifies the Permanent University Fund. It does a few things. It doubles the amount credited to the Mineral Research account for the Natural Resources Research Institute. It also modifies the degree program and related scholarships by allowing more than one program to receive funding to support workforce development and collaboration benefiting regional academics, industry, and natural resources in the Iron Range. And it also increases the maximum scholarship for students attending the programs from $6,500 to 75% of the current in-state tuition rates per academic year, and clarifies that the scholarships are for Minnesota students. Section 12 requires a report done by the Owatonna Learn to Earn Coalition by February 1st of 2026. And this report goes to the Commissioner of Higher Education and the chairs and ranking minority members of the legislative committees with jurisdiction over higher ed. And this report is a report on the activities funded under Article 1, Section 2, Subdivisions 4 and 5, which provide a variety of grants to Owatonna Learn to Earn in an effort to grow and retain talented workforce in the Owatonna and Steele County region. Section 13 requests that the Board of Regents of the University of Minnesota establish a commission to conduct a comprehensive review and evaluation of the role of intercollegiate athletics at the U. If the commission is established, the duties must include determining the value of athletics and the preservation of intercollegiate sports opportunities for students, and exploring reasonable financing models for non-revenue sports. In addition, it is requested that the research and findings of the commission be provided to the members of the Legislative Commission with jurisdiction over higher education. Article 1, Section 2, Subdivision 3 states that as a condition of receiving the University of Minnesota's supplemental funding, the commission must be established. Section 14 is a revisor instruction changing the term remedial to developmental when referring to courses at a post-secondary institution. And Section 15, which is a section that is also in the House and Senate State Government Bill, repeals the Candidate Advisory Council that has been tasked with assisting the governor in identifying criteria and candidates for non-student membership on the Board of Trustees for Min-State. This council hasn't met in a long time. And the LCC recommended that it be repealed. Article 3 is the Minnesota Health and Education Facilities Authority. This article expands the authority and scope of the Minnesota Higher Education Facilities Authority by allowing the authority to provide financing to healthcare organizations. The authority is a small agency that was established in 1971 to provide an alternative method for higher education institutions in the state to finance or refinance capital construction projects by issuing tax-exempt revenue bonds. The authority does not receive any general fund dollars or any legislative appropriations, and the operating funds are currently paid from fees charged to institutions that receive financing services. And I don't know if you want me to do a section by section. That's generally what that article does. And then Article 4 is just conforming amendments related to the changes made to the authority in Article 3.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. White. Members, are there any questions? I do not, Chair Bernardy.
Thank you. I wanted to know, and I don't know if this would be to you, Chair Rarick, or if it would be to staff. If you could just explain to me how on page 2, section 13, and the last two sentences there about article, or the last two lines, Article 1, section 2, Subdivision 3 states that as a condition of receiving the University of Minnesota supplemental funding, the commission must be established. How does that language, does that comply with the constitutional autonomy that the University of Minnesota has? How, I'd like to know a little bit, explore that a little bit more to understand that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Bernardy, and I can address that one. That is a provision that I put on as an amendment on the floor. This is the $454,000 that is going, that we are appropriating to the U for new funding. This is requiring that in order for the university to accept that money, they must establish this commission. I did work with our nonpartisan staff. They said this has been done before, and it is something that we absolutely have the right to do. And there was a court case in the 90s that established that it in fact is the right of the legislature as the body that appropriates money to put conditions on an appropriation. So that is what that provision is doing.
Thank you, Chair Reck. I have a follow-up question. Does that court case, does the funding correlate with the subject matter? This situation, it's withholding safety money for the University of Minnesota, and this is regarding athletics. Does that court case have the same subject matter, or was it different, like this is holding safety money, withholding safety money from the University of Minnesota if they don't comply?
Yeah, Chair Bernardy, in that case, I do not know how the money was affiliated with it, but it did state that it is the legislature can put contingencies on money being appropriated. And that's what we're doing here. And it's something that I do not really want to keep this on there. It is, we've been having a long conversations with the Board of Regents and the university about establishing this commission. You know, we had one entire hearing set aside where we brought supporters of the athletic programs in, and they gave some very compelling testimony about how they were not listened to and not given a chance to be a part of a conversation and how to keep their programs going. They're not just asking that their programs be reinstituted, they're asking for this commission to be put in place so they can explore the way to potentially do this. And it's in conversation with a few current regents. There are a few that are still trying to push this, and the leadership of the regents is refusing to even put it on their agenda. That is why I do not wish to do this. There have been 2 or 3 different letters that have been sent to the Board of Regents requesting this. They are not doing it. This was kind of a last-ditch effort to try to get their attention and to get them to just put this commission together so these groups can come together and look at how can we look at the long-term viability of these non-revenue sports at the university.
Okay.
Yeah. Follow-up, Chair Bernardy?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Chair Barrett. I do have a follow-up. So is this commission, is there a standard model of how a commission is formed? Who makes up this commission? You know, when does it report back? When does it have to be established? What are the parameters around that? How's that governed?
It would be a commission that the Board of Regents would be responsible with putting together. So a number of those parameters would be determined by the Board of Regents as they establish it. The group that's been asking for this, they have a few things that they've put together that they're asking the commission to do, but ultimately it would be the Board of Regents that would determine what the purview of that board and basically everything you brought up. It would be their purview. We cannot demand what exactly that would be because they are autonomous. But the provisions that we covered in Section 13 would be things then that would be required for them to put in there for the money to be allocated if this stays in. Yeah. Representative Keeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my question around sports is, does the NCAA have requirements or any templates or outlines of other universities that have established commissions like this, and how are they working?
Representative Keeler, that I do not know that question, but that is something we can definitely look into and find out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be interesting only because we can't be the only school or university that's having issues with athletics. And I love athletics. It's something that's really close to me. And I know the NCAA provides amazing templates for us that maybe if we could reach out to see what other individuals or other schools are doing in our region, templates are always nice to see what's working and not working as well. Thank you.
Representative Cleaborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a very different question. I would like to talk about Article 2, Section 2, and I'm just working off the state summary, the Senate summary. In Section 2, 136A.103, And this talks about expands the state institution eligibility requirements for state student aid to include institutions that meet the new criteria. And this is except for being physically located in the state. Could you please speak a little bit more to this provision?
Yeah, Representative Cleavorn, this is a provision to allow for online institutions to be able, for their students to be eligible for grants. That's the part about not needing to be physically located in the state of Minnesota. So this would allow, right now as written, it is pretty specific to one program. We have been working with the OHE for what would be kind of like a pilot program to potentially allow for up to 10 programs to be eligible to see how it would work. If I remember right, I believe it was about 29 schools, online programs are out there that could potentially qualify. And we would, like I said, we're looking at potentially limiting it to 10. The language that is currently in the bill probably limits it to one program right now. So, for follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question would be, when you added this provision, did you include additional dollars to the state grant program that would allow that aid? If we're adding more schools to the system, did you increase the aid that would go to the state grant program to support that?
There was a fiscal note added, so we know that's part of it. So that's part of why we put the date out to 2023, so we can further look at what that would be and look at the potential for increasing what is put into that. That's why we push the date out, because there is a fiscal note and it would require more funding. Follow up?
Yes, thank you for the follow-up. My concern is that this would be damaging without additional funding going to the state grant program. If we were to pass this clause, it would be damaging to our either state institutions that already rely, for our students who rely on that state grant funding to attend the state institutions, as well as the private institutions that rely on state grant to help support the students who are already in attendance. So if this were to go forward, I would expect a substantial increase in that state grant to support it. Thank you.
Other questions? Chair Bernardy.
I have a question. I have a question on this topic and the section, Article 2, Section 2. How does, what kind of like testimony did you have? Is that, I mean, our institutions are having to lay off staff and programs, and how does this, having these staff being located in other states and teaching our students, what kind of talk was there around that?
As far as the staffing, I do not recall any questions or discussion around the staffing. The reason for this section is a lot of our older learners who are going back for continuing education or new training are looking to the online option far more than going back, physically to a college campus. And so this program really is geared towards people who are still working a job, trying to do online training, and would give them that eligibility to receive some grants to get that training. So that was what the bulk of the conversation was around being an avenue for older learners who are coming back to college to qualify for some state grant money if they're doing the online courses.
I have a follow-up question, because my conversations with the private colleges and also the things I'm aware of, the Minnesota State, and I'm not as familiar with University of Minnesota, but they do offer a lot of these already. I was wondering how this, I'm trying to, what kind of niche does this fill other than helping one institution be able to access our state grant money?
Right. So there are a number of programs out there that are offered online, basically only online. And what this provision would provide is that they do not have to physically open an office in Minnesota to continue to run and offer programs to Minnesota residents. So that is why we know that as drafted, it's specific to one program right now. That's why we're looking at language to expand it to other institutions as well. So we're currently in those talks so that it's not necessarily just the one program. But that's the program that came in asking for this, and that they drafted the original language, and so that's why it is as it is right now, and we're looking how we can continue to grow that and make this an opportunity for older learners. Representative Cleavorn, to this.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The concern that I have is during the COVID pandemic, in last sessions, we encouraged our state institutions to go to this online model so that students could participate within the state. I don't understand the need to go to institutions outside of our state and to open up our state grant program to institutions outside of our state when our state institutions and our private colleges could already do this for our students. So if you could speak more to that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Representative Cleavorn, a number of these programs, this one specifically is a Western Governors University. They offer certain types of programs that aren't always available through other institutions. And I think we see commercials for a number of other places that offer that online, that is more flexible around schedules. And so that's what we're looking at, trying to expand those opportunities, that flexibility for our learners to be able to get the aid while having that flexibility to get the classes that they need. And the one program, this one specifically, I'm trying to remember if it's already in 15 or 19 other states, and there are a number of Minnesota students who already use it, and so this would help give them some tuition assistance. So, Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So tomorrow we've got public testimony, and since there's so many questions regarding this, I would hope that Western Governors would come, University would come and testify, and then they could answer those questions directly. I think that'd be a better use of our time, Mr. Chair.
I believe they're considering doing that. So, Representative Keeler on this?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess that is my question, and I would like them to come to answer, because I want to dig down to what is the programs? What are the exact programs that they are providing? Because I know that our university systems are actively trying to fit the needs of Minnesotans, not only as students, but our future businesses and areas of professionalism that we're going to need in our state. And I work really close with M-State, and I know that from a university level and our community colleges and our tribal colleges, we're trying to get that information, to provide that information and that education to our students. And so I really do want to know, what are the programs and how many Minnesotans are enrolled in this as of now, and what other program opportunities are there going to be? Because we saw a mass reduction in my community alone of employees in the education system. And I agree with Chair Bernardy that if we're going to start outsourcing jobs to provide education to our students, when we have systems that are designed here that want to do that, I just think we need to look at it through a different lens and really invest in what we have in Minnesota and grow that back to be sustainable for our future, rather than outsourcing to other online options, because we have amazing online options here. And I think we need to continue to keep our eye on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I will. I believe they're hearing your message right now, so I'm assuming they will sign up and testify tomorrow. So, Senator Clausen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to go back to Section 13 and just make a comment. Again, this is the request by the legislature for creating a commission to conduct a comprehensive study on the University of Minnesota interscholastic athletics, and if that is not done, the withholding of supplemental funding. I'd like to point out that that supplemental funding of about $454,000 is for student safety initiatives. Thank you.
All right, any other questions, members?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Grunwald.
just to go back a little bit to the discussion of online schools with Article 2, Section 2, in the fiscal note that Chair Rarick discussed, the Office of Higher Education does anticipate a 0.25 FTE additional need for a research analyst for data analyst of new data reporting requirements from the one additional school. But besides that, besides the 0.25 FTE, there aren't any additional staffing costs But just wanted to clarify that for you, Representative Bernardy.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That reminds me of another point I was going to make. At some point, we had a surplus in the state grant program. I'm not sure we are today, but I know that I just saw Ms. Oliver walk in from OHE, and if she doesn't testify today, maybe tomorrow, as to where we are with the state grant program, if there's still surplus.
All right, yes, I believe that can maybe be some information for tomorrow, so, perfect. And she's nodding at us, so. All right, are there any other questions on the Senate provisions of the bill? Seeing none, do we have House staff that is going to walk through the House provisions?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Catherine Schill, and I'm the fiscal analyst for this walkthrough. I am not Mr. Savory, but his work is reflected in the spreadsheet that I'll walk through. As Ms. Grunwald did previously, I'll be walking through the joint spreadsheet for higher education finance, House File 3872. And these are supplemental appropriations in the House Higher Education Omnibus Bill. For those that are in attendance in person and online, this is the posted spreadsheet dated May 10th, 2022, 7:45 a.m. Once again, all dollars are in thousands, and these are general fund appropriation changes. The House file is reflected in columns E and F. And please note, there are no changes for fiscal 22, so any changes for 23 will also be the same for the biennium fiscal 22-23. And let's begin. Lines 5 through 16 show a summary of general fund appropriations by office or by agency. In a nutshell, lines 12 and 16 show that the House bill appropriates an additional $100 million for fiscal 22 and 23 and $150 million for fiscal 24 and 25, quite a bit different than the Senate proposal. Lines 6 through 8 are the individual items of change. Line 6 is Office of Higher Education. Increase appropriations for fiscal 22-23 are $28.7 million, and for fiscal 24-25, $117.2 million. Moving down to line 7, this is Minnesota State. Fiscal 22-23 appropriations, $24.4 million, and in the tails, $18 million. And for the University of Minnesota in line 8, fiscal 22-23 totals just under $47 million. And
Ms. Schill, we lost your speaker. Ms. Schill, we lost your audio. Can we unmute her?
Michelle, you're muted.
is that better?
There
Where
we
did you lose me? Are we still on line 8 or should I go
Yes.
back? Okay,
We missed a couple lines, probably,
I'll go back to line 7. Is that sufficient?
yes, yes.
Okay, my apologies, members. Line 7 is for Minnesota State. Appropriations for fiscal 22-23 are $24.4 million, and for fiscal 24-25, $18 million. University of Minnesota appropriations are on line 8. Fiscal 22-23, just under $47 million, and for 24-25, just under $15 million. Lines 12 and 16 are what we already reviewed for the totals. Providing more detail, you'll see on lines 19 through 45 is for the Office of Higher Education. There are 14 items that are of change. Starting with line 20, we have Student Parent Center Grant at just under 7 million in 22 and 23, and just under 12.4 million in 24 and 25. Line 21 reflects operating expenses of tribal colleges, 3 million in 22 and 23, and 6 million in 24 and 25. State grant modifications is line 22, 493,000 in fiscal 22 and 23, and just under 18.6 million in fiscal 24 and 25. Line 23 is underrepresented student teacher grants, 1.5 million in each year. So 22, 23, 1.5 million, and then a total of 3 million in the tails. Line 24 is a new teacher shortage loan repayment. 700,000 in fiscal 22 and 23, and 1.4 million in fiscal 24 and 25. Line 25 is emergency assistance for post-secondary students, 731,000 in each year. So that amount for 22 and 23, and 1.46 million in 24 and 25. Line 26 is the hunger-free campus grants, 200,000 in each year, fiscal 23, and for fiscal 24, 25, a total of 400,000. Line 28 is American Indian scholarships, 3.24 million in 22 and 23, and 6.48 million in 24 and 25. Inclusive higher education grants is line 28 at 750,000 per year, 1.5 million in the tails. Line 29 is a new tuition-free college grant item, 975,000 in fiscal 22-23, and then a total of 64 million in fiscal 24 and 25. Line 30 is Minnesota Reconnect, 1 million per year, for a total in the tails of 2 million. And lines 31 through 33 are one-time appropriations. Line 31 is addiction medicine graduate education fellowships. That amount is 1.2 million in fiscal 23. Line 32 is aspiring teacher of color scholarships. This is a pilot program, 3 million in fiscal 22 and 23. And line 33 is social worker scholarships at $5 million in fiscal 22-23. Line 45 is the total. That concludes the funding changes for the Office of Higher Education. Moving on to page 2. Lines 47 through 55 are Minnesota State. There are 4 items of change here, starting with line 48. We have operations and maintenance increase for campus responsiveness and stabilization, an appropriation of 20.4 million in fiscal 23, and then in the tails, $12 million. Line 49 is a Senate provision. Line 50 is mental health awareness program at $2 million per year, fiscal 23, and then 4 million in fiscal 24 and 25. Line 51 is supporting students' basic needs. This is in association with Minnesota statutes 136F.202. 1 million in each year, meaning a 2 million total in fiscal 24 and 25. And line 52 is a one-time appropriation for career and technical educator at $1 million in fiscal 23. Line 55 is the total for Minnesota State, and that concludes the changes for Minnesota State. Moving down the spreadsheet, we have changes to the University of Minnesota reflected in lines 57 through 67. There are 6 changes here, beginning with line 59. Once again, an operations and maintenance increase. This is to reduce the cost of attendance burden for Minnesota residents. Funding is just under $14 million for fiscal 22 and 23, and a total of $12 million for fiscal 24 and 25. One-time grants are reflected in lines 60 through 63. First is safety and security enhancements at $14 million for fiscal 23. Sustainability improvements on line 61 for $10 million. Line 62 is a Natural Resources Research Institute brought up by Representative, I believe, O'Neill earlier. This appropriation is $6.9 million in fiscal 23. And line 63 is a 50-year clean water plan for the Clean Water Council, $650,000 in fiscal 23. And line 64 is Green Training Program account. 1.5 million is appropriated for fiscal 22 and 23, and just under 2.8 million in fiscal 24 and 25. Line 67 shows the total for the University of Minnesota. And chairs, this is the end of the spreadsheet. Lines 81 through 90 are technical items showing transfers from the general fund to this special revenue fund, and then use in the special revenue fund. This concludes the presentation of the House spreadsheet.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schill. Members, are there any questions on the spreadsheet? Seeing none, are you also going to do the policy pieces, Ms. Schill?
I will turn that over to Nathan for the presentation. Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Chair and members, this is Nathan Hopkins from House Research. I'm going to discuss the House's policy items in its bill. I'll be referencing the page numbers on the reviser's side-by-side document. The House language is on the left. And I know, Mr. Chair, that the plan was to adjourn, I believe, at 10 a.m. today. So I will try to speed this along.
Yeah, I believe we are good to go past 10, so don't worry about hurrying through.
Perfect, great. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, just want to make it clear. So yes, we are looking to extend our time a little. The Zoom meeting is set to end at 10. I just want to make sure that everything records and stays public and online, and it doesn't dump hard at 10. So we're going to try and work on that. But just so you know, that might be a technical difficulty issue.
All right, we'll plan on going past 10. Hopefully we will not lose our connection. So please continue, Mr. Hopkins.
Mr. Chair and committee members, so beginning on page R25 of the side-by-side, this House section affects the Hunger Free Campus Grant Program. It adds private nonprofit institutions to the list of institutions that are eligible to receive grants under that program. On R25, continuing on to page R26, these are 2 sections regarding the mandated sexual harassment and violence policy for schools. On R25 is the start of a section that requires an affirmative consent standard to be included in institutions' policies. And on page R26, this amends the subdivision in that section about comprehensive training, and it requires the institutions to train students on that new affirmative consent standard. Beginning on page R27, this is a section that establishes a new inclusive higher education technical assistance center within the Office of Higher Education. That center's mission is to increase higher education access for students with intellectual disabilities. Going along with the establishment of that new center, beginning on page R30, this is a new grant program that will assist higher education institutions with creating or expanding post-secondary programs for students with intellectual disabilities. Beginning on page R33 is a new House program. This is the Free College Grant Program. It creates a new grants for students enrolled in state colleges. It would cover any remaining cost of tuition or fees for the students, subject to a sliding scale based on the recipient's reported family income. On page R36, the House Section 7, this is for the state grant program. It amends the program to decrease the assigned student responsibility from 50% to 48% of the institution's cost of attendance. On R37, this is a new program, the Student Parent Support Initiative. It creates a grant program to assist students who are parents or expected parents. The next two sections affect the American Indian Scholarship Program. On page R38, this section, section 9 in the House bill, in Article 2 of the House bill, this removes a requirement that undergraduate students have to be eligible for a Pell Grant or a state grant in order to receive an Indian scholarship. On page R39, also regarding American Indian scholarships, this increases the maximum award amounts for undergraduate students from $4,000 to $8,000 per academic year. And for graduate students, award amounts are increased from $6,000 to $8,000 per academic year. On page R40, this is a change to the Teacher Shortage Loan Repayment Program. It increases the amount of loan repayment awarded from $1,000 to $2,000 per year. On R42 and R43 are two changes affecting Minnesota State colleges and universities. The section on page R42 deals with mental health awareness. It requires the Board of Trustees to pursue additional centralized mental health resources to benefit students. And the section that's on page R43 is very similar, and it requires the Board of Trustees to establish or to pursue additional resources to benefit students and help with their basic needs. The next few sections, beginning on page R46, deal with the University of Minnesota's Board of Regents and the legislature's election of the Board of Regents. On page R46, this assigns several seats on the Board of Regents. It provides that the legislature shall elect a tenured faculty member and a representative of a university labor organization to two of the board's currently unassigned at-large seats. This section also provides that one regent should be a member of an Indian tribe in Minnesota. The next section on page R47 deals with the congressional districts represented on the Board of Regents. It amends existing law to address how redistricting and reapportionment of the state's congressional districts will affect the election of members to the Board of Regents. Also on page 47, this is section 16 of Article 2 of the House bill. This imposes a two-term limit on regents elected by the legislature. On page, also on page R47, section 17, this affects the Regent Candidate Advisory Council statute. It changes the current composition of the RCAC and provides that it will consist of 25 members, 5 House appointees, 5 Senate appointees, 5 current faculty members appointed by faculty senates, the 5 student body presidents, 1 from each campus, and 5 designees from the listed councils. And that's the councils are listed there on page R48. Also on page R48, section 18 of the House bill, this also amends the RCAC statute. It eliminates a provision that prevents RCAC from indirectly imposing regent term limits, since regent term limits are imposed in section 16 of the House bill, which was on page R47. On page R49, this amends the statute regarding regent nomination and election. It requires the joint legislative committee for regent nomination to nominate 2 rather than 1 candidate for each vacancy on the Board of Regents, and it prohibits floor nominations at the joint legislative convention for regent election. It also requires the joint House and Senate rules to be amended to conform to this section of law. Beginning at the very bottom of page R49 and moving on through page R50, R51, and R52 is the Green Training Program, a new program for the University of Minnesota. This would help train university employees in sustainability practices. On page R52, this is hidden right in the middle, it's section 22. This provides that the aspiring Minnesota Teacher of Color Scholarship Program should expire June 30th, 2027, so it extends out the program. The House also provides additional funding because of that extension. On page R52 still, section 23, the Social Work Scholarship Program. This creates a new scholarship program for students preparing to become licensed social workers in Minnesota. Finally, on page R54, this is a request to the Board of Regents to amend its current ethics policies for the Board of Regents. Currently, they do not allow a compensated university employee to serve as a regent, and the House has required the legislature to elect a faculty member to the Board of Regents. So this requests the board to amend those policies to allow for that. Finally, Mr. Chair, Article 3 of the House's bill is the OHE agency bill. So it contains a number of administrative changes to OHE programs. This was introduced in the House as House File 3672, in the Senate as Senate File 3093. It's mainly clarifying and technical changes. The Office of Higher Education would be best positioned to answer any detailed questions about these provisions. And since we're running a little short on time, I'll stop there and see if anyone has any questions about Article 2.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions on what we've gone through to this point? I do not see any. Is there more, Mr. Hopkins, that you wanted to go through, or does that wrap up where you're at?
Mr. Chair, I can briefly discuss the provisions in Article 3 in the OHE agency bill for the committee, if that's okay.
Very good.
On page R56 are 2 changes regarding information required to be reported to the Office of Higher Education, Section 1 and Section 2. Section 1 clarifies that this data on student enrollments and state and federal financial aid only needs to be provided if the institution's students are eligible to receive state financial aid. Section 2 is similar. It regards self-loan data, and it clarifies that student enrollment and other information only needs to be provided if the institution students are eligible to receive self-loans. Section 3 on page R56 makes changes to the list of institutions exempted from the requirements of the Private Career Schools Act. Section 4, which begins on page R58, deals with concurrent enrollment grants, and it amends the requirements for a post-secondary institution using grant funds to expand its concurrent enrollment programs. That's just on House line 41.13. It changes an or to an and. On section 5 on page R59, this corrects an error in statute by striking a reference to a provision that does not exist. And section 6 on page R59 is a repealer, and it repeals a part in the Minnesota rules that splits the private career schools into 2 different categories and imposes different relicensure requirements on them. The underlying statute for that rule was repealed in the 2021 Higher Education Omnibus Act. And Mr. Chair, that concludes Article 3 and all the House's policy provisions.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions on that portion? Seeing none, that wraps up our walkthroughs. I believe we will be wrapping up here soon. Tomorrow, we will be doing a remote only, and it will be for public testimony. So those who are listening, you can be signing up to get the link so that you can present public testimony tomorrow. Chair Bernardy, do you wish to add anything about how tomorrow is going to work? Or you will be having the gavel tomorrow.
Right, we will, yes. Thank you, Chair Rarick. We will be meeting from 9 to 12, so we have plenty of opportunity for people to testify. And like you said, we'll be remote, which will give people across the state to have the opportunity, which this today does too, the hybrid, but tomorrow as well. So thank you. Look forward to hearing public testimony.
Yeah, and then as time permits, we can, as members, have some discussion following the public testimony if time gives us that ability to start asking questions and digging a little bit deeper. So is there anything else anyone wishes to bring up before we adjourn? Seeing nothing, we will stand adjourned. Thank you, members.